The party has been fighting for Palestine since its inception. And in 1936, it actually participated in the 1936 revolution.
In Palestine and
Palestine.
the Great Strike and all of that.
Yes. And there were several martyrs who got killed in these battles. The first martyr of the party was called Hussein Ali al-Banna, and he was from Charoun.
Mm-hmm.
This is an extra reason why we are here. And the most notable one was the commander Said al-As. Said al-As, who had earlier participated in the Battle of Maysalun, but
that's a battle against the French occupation at the outskirts of Damascus, between the border of what is now Lebanon and Damascus.
Yes.
Hey everybody, this is Laith Marouf from Free Palestine TV, and we are in the Dhour El Choueir region of Mount Lebanon. Before we continue with this report, I ask you to press the subscribe button on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website, freepalestine.video, to donate so we can continue bringing you these reports. Today we have with us a special guest, lawyer Nael Kaedbey, who is going to be helping us understand a lot of the history of the Syrian Social Nationalist Party. What does that mean for all of our viewers who are not from the region and don't know this? And we are starting this tour right here beside the statue of the founder of the SSNP.
Antoun Saadeh.
Yes, Antoun Saadeh. And so let's start with the basics, Nael. The SSNP, a lot of people in the West don't know much about it.
Yeah.
What are the founding principles of this party, and why did Antoun Saadeh think that it was necessary to start such a party?
Okay, let's start with the name. The Syrian Social Nationalist Party. It is Syrian because it identifies nationally as a national identity. It is the Syrian national identity. However, the difference between the national identity as perceived by the SSNP and other nationalist parties in the world is that it is a social nationalist party. It does not subscribe to defining nationality or national identity in terms of bloodlines or race or language or religion, but rather as the unity of life within a society, on a homeland or on a country.
Within natural geographic boundaries of what culture?
Yes, exactly. These boundaries basically are what focuses the social life within them, so that they produce a national identity. This national identity has been fermenting and has been melting within the geographic region that is Syria, natural Syria, what we call natural Syria, for tens of thousands of years. And this is why it is important to us to identify as social nationalists, not just nationalists, because especially in the West, nationalism is always portrayed as being racial, as being it's an ideology that is inherently pushing for segregation or for discrimination. We don't subscribe to that, but
because race is anyways a pseudoscience.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a manufactured thing because of colonialism and imperialism. There is no such thing as race. There is no purity of blood. Our cultures are based on geography, on topography, how we act, how we speak, and
how we interact with each other and with the land, which gives us certain characteristics that differ depending on what we interact with. So people on the shores are inherently different than people who are forced to break rocks in order to plant vegetation or anything else.
And the natural borders of what we would call natural Syria, and some may call in a fertile crescent or the Levant, are the Zagros Mountains in Iran, the Taurus Mountains in Turkey,
in current day Turkey and current day Iran.
Yes, current day Iran, Turkey, and the Mediterranean, and the Najd, plateau in the middle of Arabia. The rest is this naturally encompassed zone, which is natural Syria.
Yes, basically it includes, on top of what you've mentioned, it includes the Sinai Peninsula, the Aqaba Gulf, and Cyprus. So it's this geographic unity which it's not just the geography that dictates that this is a nation. It's the fact that people have lived on this geography and have interacted with each other and with this geography and produced a unified culture, a unified identity, a unified personality. And this is why Antoun Saadeh deemed this necessary for everyone to realize that following certain ideologies, be it linguistic nationalism or the hoax of purity of blood, is detrimental to our national interests. Because in this sense, we will be fighting each other instead of fighting the enemies who would occupy our country and subject us to unspeakable woes. And all this time we are just wasting our time fighting each other.
So Antoun Saadeh came up with this thought of the SSNP at the end of the French-British occupation plot and take over, obviously, in World War I. Explain to us the beginnings of this movement.
The idea of a natural Syria, of a Syrian nation, was not a new one. It was basically the most common identifying trait or political thought for everyone at the time. So basically you had Boutros el-Bistani speaking of Syria, you had Gibran Khalil Gibran speaking of Syria as a national identity. You had a lot of people. The distinction between Antoun Saadeh and these others is basically that he put it in motion as a political movement, and that he was insistent on making this political movement rooted in sociology and science, not just demagoguery or just speech. And in this sense, he, even in 1921, that's like 11 years before he established or founded the SSNP, he spoke of the need for the Syrian people to do certain actions. By the way, he was born in 1904, so by 21 he was 17 years old. He was speaking of the need to watch out of the Zionist movement who is coming to take Palestine away from us. In any case, he started the SSNP in 1932 after he came back and saw that the political sphere in Damascus and in Lebanon was basically just people working for the occupier. They did not intend to face the occupier in any way, and they failed to understand that this mode of political life is a doom for our countries on the long run. And this is why when the SSNP started, it was a secret organization, it was a secret party. It was discovered in 1936, and basically the whole leadership was imprisoned by the French. I won't go into the details much, but I will say the fundamental principles and the reform principles. Grosso modo, not into the very details of it. Basically, Syria is a complete nation in of itself, and Syria is for the Syrians. Second of all, the national cause of the Syrian nation is distinct from any other cause, and it is the cause of the Syrian people and the Syrian land. And in terms of social identification, the Syrian nation is one society. We refuse to talk of multiple societies in one nation. No, we are one society. We do not accept talk of us being several peoples within a land. We are one single people, one single society. In terms of the geography, we've talked about it. In terms of defining this nation, it is the unity of life going back to prehistory. And in terms, the most important, as we see it, it's the most important fundamental principle. It's that Syria's interest comes before any other interest. So if we identify something as being in our interest as a party for the short term, but against Syria's interest on the long term, then we will not do it, because Syria's interest is key and it supersedes any other interest.
And we're going to talk about later on about the history of the SSNP with the liberation of Palestine
yes,
battle.
of course.
But you did mention how Antoun Saadeh and the other leaders were mass arrested by the occupation authorities, the French and the British.
Yes.
And eventually Antoun was put on a fake kangaroo trial.
Yes, that was in 1948. We'll get to that. But in terms of from 1932 till 1943, basically the SSNP was the most prominent force against the occupation, both British and French, and it was the most prominent force against the Zionist project in Palestine.
And for those who don't understand, not only did the British occupy, what is now Jordan, Palestine, and Iraq, but between the two world wars, actually the British took over the occupation from the Vichy regime of
yes.
Syria and Lebanon, and Syria and Lebanon were colonized by the British.
Yes. And this is why if any of your viewers sees the map of Sykes-Picot and compares it to what is now the current borders between Syria and Iraq, they would see a distinct difference. And that difference happened when the British basically took over the Vichy regime, and Churchill just struck a pen on the map and changed the borders.
Yeah.
And it is these borders that some people cling to. These borders that were drawn haphazardly and very chaotically and very lightly by people who did not know the land, by people who didn't know the region. And they just said, yeah, we'll take this, and they'll take that. And we were what we call in Arabic maf'ul bihi, what was being done
we were
unto.
the subjects.
Yes.
Of the action.
And it was refused that we have any say in it.
All right, so we're going to go to another location right
Yes.
now and continue this lesson. are now in Ain Anoub, which is your family's hometown.
Yes.
Explain to us why you were here, how this relates to the SSNP.
Okay, so as we spoke earlier, the SSNP was one of the most prominent political forces against the occupation, be it French or British. And one of the main reasons why that was is because the reform principles of the SSNP negate the entire power structure installed by the French and the British, which is basically the sectarian system. And the reform principles are basically anti-sectarian. They push for labor equality and labor rights and the abolition of feudalism. And the last reform principle relates to having an army, a military arm or a military power that is worthy and that is capable of playing a pivotal role in deciding the destiny of the nation and the people. So we're in Ain Anoub because behind us there's the monument for Saeed Fakhreddin, who's a martyr for the party who fell or got killed during the war for independence or the battle for independence in Lebanon. Or maybe we should call it quasi-independence.
Yeah.
So these battles that were fought, some of them was fought right here. We came from Charoun, which was the de facto capital or the interim capital after the French captured most of the cabinet at the time. So the remaining ministers came to Charoun, and they were guarded, among others, but mainly by the SSNP. The battle for the French happened along these roads. This road here leads to Alay, and this road also. And the French army had a garrison in Alay, mostly Senegalese. So they came along these roads, and they had to pass by this road to reach the interim government's siege. And it's along these roads that the battle took place. So other than that, and before the independence battles, the French really persecuted the SSNP members. And during World War II, despite the fact that the French were really persecuting them, and despite the fact that the French used to say that the SSNP was an arm for Nazi Germany, the party never aligned itself with the Axis. The reason, and we will see this later, the reason why we didn't is because we believed that, and we still do, that in order to have a meaningful relationship with any foreign power, we need to be talking as peers, not as subordinates. And since the Axis, as well as the Allies, were not willing to talk to our nation and consider our nation a peer, then it was a matter of fact, and it's a matter of very simple mathematics that we cannot have a healthy relationship with them. And the reform principles and their contradiction with the systems installed in our countries and the political entities that the French and the British put in place put us at odds with these kind of systems, these power structures. And this is why when these power structures had to undergo internal mechanisms of control, in other words, civil wars, our position was always one that refused internal fighting, with the emphasis on having our weapons, our guns, and everyone's guns directed solely and exclusively towards the enemy. This didn't always fare well to us, and we were targeted by both sides on several occasions. But nevertheless, we won't change, and we will remain true to our principles.
We're in your family's old home.
Yes.
And clearly, this principle of not directing weapons towards your, your countrymen had even affected your family and the home here.
Yes.
You were telling us the home was targeted at the orders of the Zionists because of that. So what happened here? How did the Zionists get somebody from our own countrymen to target your home here?
After the invasion of 1982, the Zionists made it a point to basically have commandos go in every day to search the house, because my dad was in the SSNP and he was a prominent member. So the Zionists were no strangers to the house. So they knew it very well, and they did raids to it very regularly. After they were forced to leave this area of Lebanon and withdraw down to the south, they called up basically some of their friends.
Some of their agents.
Agents, yes, because they don't have any friends, very correct. And they had the house targeted with artillery, and later on ransacked and burned.
And this is what the Zionists want to do to the whole of our countries, and any country, any
Yes.
people that resist their oppressive regime and the colonialist plans for us. Well, this was it's a beautiful area. I mean, you can see Beirut from here.
Yes.
This is clearly one of the many reasons, other than your family's patriotic principles, that they want to make sure that this house is not safe for resistance to be able to view
Yes.
all this geographic areas under it. All right, we're gonna go now to another location and we'll continue this coverage.
ما نسي العرزال طلعت القمر بين الغيوم ما نسي العرزال بسمتك على
Nael, we were talking about the involvement of the SSNP in the fight for the liberation of Palestine. Maybe you can give us a few of those highlights of the military involvement of the SSNP in that fight.
Well, okay, there's too many to really have a comprehensive rundown of, but we spoke of the 1936 revolution and the general strike. We definitely fought in 1948. However, the political class back then and most of the military leadership refused to supply the SSNP or its members with weapons, as it did to other volunteers. So there was a blockade on us in terms of weapons and other supplies. But we still did what we could, and we were self-financed in order to defend Palestine. We did what we could. There were some notable battles, but such battles need to be broken down by someone who's more knowledgeable about the fact. In any case, after 1948, And in the lull between 67 and 73, there was the Karame battle and there was the attrition war. We participated in both.
And the Karame battle is in Jordan, in a town
Yes.
called Karame in the Jordan Valley, just down from Salt in Jordan.
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit to the audience.
There was a huge battle basically between factions and Israeli gangs called an army, and after that the Jordanian army joined the fight, and the battle lasted more than 20 hours all in all. But
Before you go on with that, it's very
Yeah.
important to note that the general in charge of the Jordanian battalions that were there in Karame received an order from the Jordanian military to withdraw and leave the Fidaiyin, the fighters, the rebels, to be slaughtered by the Israeli army inside Jordanian territory in Karame. And the general refused the order, and then he got a call from King Hussein of Jordan directly ordering him to withdraw, and he again refused.
the order. Yeah.
And that's one of the only honorable things that we can say that the Jordanian army did after 48,
Despite the King of Jordan.
despite the King of Jordan.
Yes. There were comrades from Jordan and even from other parts of Syria who fought in that battle. And afterwards, the fighting didn't stop. There were still skirmishes all over the Jordan Valley. And members of the party would routinely go and participate in these skirmishes, even from other political entities, like from Lebanon or Syria. They would just cross the border, go in, fight their fight, and come back, and then go again. So, of course, people from Jordan didn't need to cross the border. But so, yeah, these are some of the battles that were fought. Of course, during the occupation of Lebanon, several were fought, too many to count. I think the archiving of these battles, of all these battles, needs much more detailed and much longer reportage than this. So, given the time that we have, I think this is quite sufficient for now.
Perfect.
Unless you want to know something else.
No, we'll carry on the conversation now. So we're back in Dhour El Choueir, and we're in a area where there's a memorial for Antoun Saadeh.
Yes.
And you use the term arzal when you're describing this to me. What's arzal for our viewers?
The closest thing would be a treehouse.
Okay, so this is a treehouse where Antoun Saadeh lived?
Basically, people in Dhour El Choueir and in other villages, because the economy was very tiny in these villages, they used to rent out their houses to local merchants, people from the cities, and they would move into these tree houses and live there. What we're gonna see is not the tree house where Antoun Saadeh lived, because that was destroyed. That was actually a tree house. It was hung up in the trees. This one, you'll see that it's not. But that was destroyed, and the trees were cut down during the civil war in Lebanon. But in any case, it was rebuilt and then it was destroyed again, and this is the third rendition of it. So it has significance, and when you see the place, you'll understand. It's a beautiful scene, and
A lot of pine trees here.
Yes.
And of course, the Lebanese pine seeds are some of the most precious pine seeds in the world. They're like the most tastiest, and all the chefs in the world want to get them, and or the Kashmiri pine.
yeah.
So Antoun Saadeh was arrested by the occupation authorities, and they wanted him dead.
Yes.
Tell us about this story.
As we've spoken before about how the SSNP was a major player against the French in our countries, in our land, when he came back, he basically reinvigorated the movement, and the local authorities felt that he was a danger to them, but they couldn't do much. On the other hand, the Zionist gangs and what later became the Zionist state felt that an invigorated SSNP posed a real threat to their project, which is why they orchestrated the whole plot to have him assassinated via legal means.
For our viewers that don't know, of course, in the region here at the time, all the governments were still under occupation. Other than Syria in 1942 escaping.
And Lebanon in 1943. But even this independence, which we spoke about, but this independence was not a full independence, because at the time it was basically concerted with the British, and the British helped alleviate the situation here by kicking or nudging the French out in order to put their guys in power. So the Iddays were removed, and Bashar al-Khoury and Riyad al-Sulh, who were leaning towards the British, came in. And speaking of Riyad al-Sulh, he wasn't only leaning towards the British, he was actually, and this was revealed in print, he was on the payroll of the Zionist movement. He participated in selling land in Palestine for the Zionist movement.
Like the current Prime Minister Nawaf Salam's grandfather, who sold the Hawla Valley.
Yeah.
And of course, all the other Arab kings and royals that were on the payroll, like the Sauds, the Hashemites, others that were receiving monthly salaries that are docked in the British office, how much they were receiving.
Not only the British office, but also the Zionist movement in itself. So, yeah, basically, the push was that we need to get rid of Antoun Saadeh, because getting rid of Antoun Saadeh will get rid of the SSNP, and basically we'll have less hassles. So, back then, Hisn al-Zaim had just accessed power. Hisn al-Zaim was
in Syria.
In Syria, or we like to call it Sham. But I know it's confusing for the viewers abroad.
Bilad al-Sham is the lands of Greater Syria, or
yes,
and Sham is Damascus and or.
Correct. Yeah. For us, Syria encompasses what we spoke about earlier about this whole region. However, we can talk about the Syrian Republic, which is basically a fraction of what is our homeland. So, in the Syrian Republic, Hisn al-Zaim had conducted a coup and removed the current government, and held power. At first, the Americans and the British worried that he was about to turn things upside down, and his speech, his
Public positions.
yes, were against the founding of Israel. It was about liberation, and it was against the British and the Americans. The Americans at the time wanted to pass the Tap Line project, so they feared that this would hinder their standing in the region. So the Americans pushed the Saudis, and the British pushed the Egyptians at the time under Khediawi Tawfiq.
The king.
Yes, the king. And they both talked to Hassan al-Zaim and promised him money, and actually gave him money, not just promised him, in order to pass the Tap Line, and in order to also corner the SSNP, so that the Lebanese government under Riyad al-Saleh can do what it deems necessary to get rid of the party. At the time, we can go up if you want.
Yeah.
At the time, Antoun Saadeh had already moved to the Syrian Republic, and this meant that the Lebanese government could not get to him. So, because he was getting paid, he basically captured Antoun Saadeh and delivered him to the Lebanese authorities, who orchestrated or organized the mock trial.
Kangaroo court, as they would call it also.
Yeah. And within 24 hours, he was captured, tried, and executed. We can easily call it an assassination rather than a trial or an execution. So,
And he said very famous words in the court before they sent him for execution that echo till today.
yeah, that he may die, but the cause will still remain, and the final victory will be the victory of our people in liberating our land.
Wow, what a beautiful scene here.
Yeah.
You can see why somebody would want to be in a tree house.
Especially during the summer.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. And one thing that you mentioned there that is also important to probably tell our audience is the first coup that the CIA, before it was the CIA, was ever formed, didn't happen in Iran, as everybody remembers, with Mossadegh, but actually happened in Syria in 1942. So from the beginning, and Syria had to live through 7 coups between
48 and 1973.
Until the coming of Hafez al-Assad. So this is how deep the infiltration and attempt to manipulate Syria by the Americans and the British before them, but the Americans specifically, and this is what everybody needs to understand why Syria is so important.
In the effort to control the region.
Yeah. So the collaborators with the occupation and the Zionists assassinated the leader.
Yeah.
They were hoping to quash the fervor within the people of the region to reunify. Did they succeed?
Definitely not. The leader's vision, Antoun Saadeh's vision of an ultimate victory is still going on. And the immediate effects of the of the assassination was the complete opposite of what was hoped, because the party grew. The party grew so much that it gained a lot of political power in what is called the Syrian Republic. And it also grew in Lebanon. Despite it being banned in Lebanon, it still grew.
It was banned for 10 years at that point from the assassination of the leader.
It should have been banned for 10 years, but they lifted the ban within 2 years because it was so powerful on the political front. So they needed the party's political power for their inter-political rivalries. And so Kamil Charoun came to the party with a proposal that he would lift the ban if the party would run with him against the Bashar al-Khoury led majority. And this is what happened, and by 1951 the party was reinstated in Lebanon. By 1955, Saeed Taqiyuddin, a prominent member of the party, started the كل مواطن خفير. Basically, every citizen is a watchman to combat espionage, especially espionage by the Zionist enemy. And that was in 1954, sorry. And in 1955, we pushed, and through this push and through the كل مواطن خفير situation and the whole movement, it was the first law to be passed against or for the boycott of Israel. So, the party grew stronger, and it grew so strong that basically in Syria, it was three powers at the time. It was the Communist Party aligned with the Eastern Bloc, the Ba'ath Party aligned with the Western Bloc, and the SSNP. We refused to align with either bloc because, just like during World War II, we believe and we see things as if these people, these colonizers, still see us as inferior, then there is no hope for us to be independent. So, trying to form relations with them that are not built upon the fact that we are peers or equals is not a relationship that will lead to the interest of our nation. And going back to our most important principle, the Syrian interest is supreme. Mm-hmm. So,
obviously there's been so many other experiments and movements around the world that had to deal with the same thing, and that's what pushed for the rise of the Third World Movement or the non-aligned movement. And unfortunately, of course, the Soviet Union messed that up and the relationship with the Third World, and we know the rest of the story.
Yeah, the problem with the Soviet Union is that it acted like a colonial power. So in terms of our nation, it pushed the communist parties in our countries to basically just execute their plan. It didn't ask what would be a good plan for our country in order to help.
And the local Communist Party here in Greater Syria actually acknowledged the existence of the Zionist state at orders of the common stat like in the Soviet Union
Yes,
that
but
forced them to acknowledge.
both parties, the one in Palestine and the one in Syria, acknowledged, and in fact, at the time, they issued a statement calling for, to raise up arms against the Arab bourgeoisie, along with the Jewish farmers and laborers. So yes, it was a very dystopian situation, and this is why the party never aligned east or west. Of course, when you have a country like the Syrian Republic that is split into thirds, then neither bloc can control it. So the Western bloc tried to, pull us over, and they failed. And so they figured, let's do without them, and then we'll see what happens. So there was a plot they effectively organized the plot, the American intelligence, along with the Egyptian intelligence, to assassinate Adnan al-Malki. Adnan al-Malki was a Syrian official. He was a Ba'athist, but he was against the unity with Egypt. So it was in Egypt's interest to assassinate him, and it was in the American interest to assassinate him because at the time the US and Abdel Nasser were cozying up to each other. That was before
after the 56
war, yes. And before the US considered that Abdel Nasser pulled the rug underneath them. So at the time they were still warming up. And so
he was trying to see if the Americans would help with the construction of the
Sadd al-Ali.
Yes, the Great Dam.
Yes, and so this Congress or orchestration of the plot took place, and in the Americans' eyes also, the assassination of Adnan al-Maliki would lead to the eradication of the SSNP. Because he was a Ba'athist. And this is what actually happened. So Adnan al-Malki was assassinated. A comrade was accused of assassinating him, even though the gun that they had him, he was a military man and he was there as protection. And the gun he was carrying never fired. And the bullets that killed Adnan al-Malki were from a different caliber. So it was a clear cook-up, not very good one, but it made you. And all the SSNP members, or most of them, were either captured or were sent on the run. And the party was banned from Syria, and it remained banned, till today, basically. We still have no official license to operate, but we still do. So in any case, that happened, and of course the Communist Party played along and ratted out SSNP members. And in the US's mind, in the US intelligence services minds, it was that, fine, we'll take over Syria. This is when the unity between Egypt and the Syrian state occurred, and that's where the fallout came between Abdel Nasser and the Americans, because Abdel Nasser didn't play along with the American plan, so they figured that he bamboozled them, he swindled them. So in any case, we suffered a terrible blow, but we still went on. And we still kept operating in secret in the Syrian Republic up until the 2000s, where we started going back into the public eye, not just operating secretly. But still, things are like always, things are dangerous. So the key point here, as I see it, is the fact that we refuse to be caught in a dichotomy of either be with this or against that. And the way we see it, there's always a third choice. That third choice is the interest of our nation. If any party, any entity, any bloc is interested to actually pursue with us the interests of our nation and theirs, then by all means. Otherwise, we will not play nice.
And we're going to go to another location right now and continue this discussion.
للندى للطيب يطول غيبات الحبيب روحك دني آمال تحيينا وهالروح ما نسينا ولا ننسي العرزان.
Nael, we made it to the village of Charoun in Mount Lebanon. We're very close to Damascus and the Beqaa Valley, around 30 kilometers to Damascus from here. Why are we here? First off, I think probably the viewers would love to know the name Charoun. What does it mean? It doesn't have anything to do with Charoun of Israel.
No, actually it's Charoun, as in it's an amalgamation of two Sumerian words. Char, meaning the sky, look at this beautiful sky, and Un, which means the god, the deity Un. So this is the sky of Un. And being here, seeing this, you can actually see how the sky can be perceived as
Godly.
wonderful, godly, divine. So this is Charoun. Ariel Sharon and his family decided that they wanted names that can be portrayed as from the land. So they chose this name because there's another valley in Palestine, in the northern Palestine, called, sorry, not a valley, but rather Sahel. It's a plateau.
Plateau.
Okay, so the plateau of Charoun. And he basically stole the name just like they stole the land. And this is why it's an issue that actually has ramifications, because some people at a given moment in time figured that why is this village called Charoun? We should change it.
Mm-hmm.
And the narrative that is presented by the Zionists can actually change the facts in people's minds. But the reality is they should be the ones to get out.
Well, obviously, Netanyahu's original name is Milowaski, and
Yes.
Sharon's real name is not that. And part of the battle that we have to fight is the battle of history, memory, and even terminology.
Yeah, exactly.
Inshallah, all efforts of the different patriotic movements will maintain the knowledge of these histories. So tell us about Charoun. Why are we here today?
We were talking about the history of the party, and we haven't really spoken about what it has done regarding the Palestine issue. So this is where we're gonna really get into it. So the party has been fighting for Palestine since its inception, and in 1936 it actually participated in the 1936 revolution
In Palestine,
In
and the Great
Palestine.
Strike and all of that.
Yes. And there were several martyrs who got killed in these battles. The first martyr of the party was called Hussein Ali al-Banna, and he was from Charoun.
Mm-hmm.
This is an extra reason why we are here. and the most notable one was the commander Said al-As. Said al-As, who had earlier participated in the Battle of Maysalun, but
That's a battle against the French occupation at
Yes.
the outskirts of Damascus, between the border of what is now Lebanon and Damascus.
yes, exactly. But back then, the party didn't exist yet. Later on, he joined the party and he fought in Palestine as a member of the party. So, in 1939, the political sphere in Palestine wanted to stop the revolution. They wanted to stop the strike and take a pause under the auspices of the wishes of the kings of Saudi Arabia and Egypt. The party was against it, and sadly, it was politically imposed upon the revolutionaries to stop the revolution. And eventually, that led to loss of trust between the rebels and the political class, not to mention the economic devastation that really devastated people in Palestine at the time, and not to mention the fact that all the military gains that had happened were quickly subverted because the British resupplied the Zionist gangs, and the Zionist gangs reformed their supply of weaponry. This had a major effect down the line in 1948 when the Zionist gangs declared their state. Is this audible now or not?
Yes. I mean, for a second there, I thought the whole thing exploded behind us, but
It's not far off though.
one thing that maybe a little bit going back just for a second there for our audience to understand is that the King of Saudi at the time met with the leaders of the Zionists and even plotted against citizens of the Saudi kingdom that were fighting inside Palestine with the various patriotic
Factions,
peoples
yes.
that came to the ground. And unfortunately, of course, those Saudi citizens either were killed because of the information that the Saudi kingdom gave to the Zionists, and or were jailed in Saudi when they came back. Let's continue this story.
Are we speaking within the time frame of 36 to 39
Yes.
or 48?
No, 1936 and also in 1948. But in 1936, there was a bigger contingent of citizens from the Arabian Peninsula that
Yes.
came to support the Palestinian uprising at that time.
Yeah. Sad but true, and one of the things that we should do on the cultural level is rid ourselves of certain myths. The myth that Palestine is equally as important to all people who declare it to be important. No, it's not. Some people plot against it, but they raise its banner.
And that was actually the message from Ben Gurion to the King of the Sauds in 1936. He was like, we have agreed together. Why are you using all this language that is supportive
Yes.
of the Palestinians? And he told them, don't listen to my words, look at my actions.
Yes.
And clearly, till today, we see that repeating in the Qatari, Kuwaiti, Saudi, Emirati language that is supposed to be supportive of Palestinians, but we know that they are plotting against the Palestinian people, the elite of those states.
Yeah.
There is a poster right behind us here of martyr Wajdi Sayegh,
Yes.
and the community center here is named after him also.
Yes.
What's the story of Wajdi Sayegh here?
Wajdi Sayegh is one of the stories of resistance of SSNP members. In 1985, he decided that he didn't want the occupation to remain being just nonchalant about it and being graceful. So he, along with the leadership of the party, decided that no, there should be resistance. In 1985, he packed his car with 100 kilograms of TNT and seeked out a caravan of enemy troops and blew his car in that caravan, killing an officer and two of his companions in a jeep, and toppling two tanks and killing and maiming around 40 Israelis. So Wajdi had a quote. It's a great quote, and it's a quote that we live by. It is that he swore, along with his fellow martyrs, to not let the enemy rest. It is important for us that we walk this path, the path of resistance and the path of regaining control of our land and our freedom.
Inshallah, Syria, all of natural Syria will be liberated, and Palestine will be rejoined with its people in Greater Syria. Nael Kaedbey, thank you very much for all this lesson, all this information. Hopefully we'll be sitting down with you in a wartime cafe to talk more about the current affairs of the Syrian Social Nationalist Party and its aspirations in this situation. You are still watching Free Palestine TV. I ask you one more time to press the subscribe button on whatever social media platform you're watching this on, and to go to our website, freepalestine.video, to donate so we can continue bringing you all this content. From me, Laith Marouf, and Hadi behind the camera, we wish you all a free Syria, all of Syria.